What up, everybody? This is the Dr. Football Ultimate Patriots podcast. I am your host, Dr. Dennis Tien, recording remote tonight from my office in Dedham, Massachusetts. Joining me, as always, the CEO of Hedge Better, Justin Fine. We have an awesome episode planned tonight. This is the place to be for 1 hour commercial free, 30 minutes on the Pats, 30 minutes around the league. We got a lot to talk about tonight. A great win finally in Buffalo on Sunday night. We're going to break it down. We're going to get all over the NFL. Justin, how you doing tonight, my man?
I'm doing fantastic. You know, I was thinking back coming into this episode. You know, I know we've been doing this for years now, and I was sitting there trying to think, you know, when's the last time we recorded with potentially as much to you know, be optimistic about as we have this episode? And the answer, I don't think, is ever. I think this is probably the most we've had to be thankful for in the history of the Patriots podcast. And I'm super excited. What a great win the other night.
Well, that's a great topic. And if you really think about it, you probably haven't had this much to look forward to since like 2017.
Right.
And I know they won the Super Bowl in 2018, but that was like the last hurrah.
Yep.
And they really weren't that good that whole season. They kind of figured it out in January, and, you know, everything kind of opened up and they got that sixth ring. But when was the last time you really felt good about the direction of this franchise? It may be to like 7-8 years ago.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And, you know, I think I think as Patriots fans, you know, we obviously experienced a lot of good times. Recently, it was a lot of bad times. And, you know, I think all we kind of ask for is just a chance to even get back to a semblance of what we were used to here for so long. And, you know, we still got a long way to go, but I'm feeling great after the other night. How can you not? What a win. What a statement. You know, you feel good about this team. You feel good about this coach. You feel good about your quarterback.
I would think we would both agree that this was the best win of the post-Brady era. For sure. Like, I'm trying to think back to 21. They did make the playoffs that year. I don't think they really had a signature win. I think that there was a lot of low-hanging fruit that year. There was a lot of kind of, you know, garbage teams on that schedule, bad quarterbacks, and they just kind of backed into 10 wins and got smoked in the playoffs. When's the last time they had a real signature win, Justin?
It's been a long time. It really has. And not just a signature win, but, you know, against a team like this and an environment like this, primetime. I mean, we went all of last season without a primetime game. The Patriots returned to primetime with Drake May, with Mike Vrabel, against arguably the best team in football. And they announced themselves. They really did.
I mean, do you agree this is the biggest win of the post-Brady era?
I think without a doubt, I think it's the biggest win of the post-Brady era. I think this was the culminating point that we've all been waiting for all offseason, right? I think, you know, going into the second year of Drake May, after, you know, we saw some stuff in his rookie year that gave us some optimism, after, you know, kind of cleaning house and bringing in a whole new coaching staff that we had confidence in, signing some big free agents that we thought could be impactful right out of the gate. Like, all the expectations that we've had for this team for what you could say the last 8 months at this point, all kind of culminated in that win last night in Buffalo.
Yeah, absolutely agree with that. But what I want to kind of start it off with a little bit on that is did you hear Josh Allen's comments post game on Sunday night? And, you know, just to, like, I'm not going to read them verbatim, but like, if you read some of the things he said, this was one exact quote from him. We just played sloppy. You got to take care of the ball. You know, we turned the ball over 3 times. We shouldn't even have a chance, or something to that effect. Basically, the theme of his comments was that it was like a total self-inflicted loss. Mm-hmm. And I'm wondering, was this more about, on Sunday night, more about the Patriots or more about the Bills just dropping the ball?
You know, I think it'd be fair to say it's a little bit of both. I mean, look, this Bills team, I believe all of last year had 8 turnovers, something crazy like that. Like, this is a team that does not turn the ball over. They've consistently been at the top of the league the last few years in turnover differential. And not only do they have 3 turnovers on Sunday night, but a number of significant penalties. I mean, I was actually shocked at how many penalty flags were coming in the Buffalo Bills. So between the turnovers and the flags, I think you can say that the Bills didn't put their best foot forward. They might have shot themselves in the foot. But let's face it. I mean, the Patriots 100% had a hand in that. I mean, there are plenty of teams that still would have lost that game despite the way the Bills shot themselves in the foot. And I think the Patriots found a way to scratch and claw and compete and take it and seize the opportunity.
To me, this was Sunday night was really about more the Patriots than the Bills, in my opinion. And look, you can say the Bills turned the ball over 3 times. The Patriots also turned the ball over once. You know, the Bills fumbled and the Patriots gave them the ball back 2 plays later. Another Ramondre Stevenson fumble, which we're going to get to. Right. The Bills had a lot of penalties. Guess what? So did the Patriots, right? Mm-hmm. The key turnover in this game was a Josh Allen interception. That was a terrific play, a terrific defensive call, and a terrific play by Marcus Jones undercutting the route. So I say this is way more about the Patriots taking this game than the Bills giving it away. I think the Patriots outdueled them. I think our quarterback outplayed their quarterback. I think the Patriots defense outplayed their defense. And so to me, this was really, Justin, this was about the Patriots beating Buffalo and not Buffalo beating themselves.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And to your point, you know, just like you said, the Josh Allen interception was a great play by Marcus Jones. The fumble that, what's his name? Spillane forced. That was just a great defensive play too. So it's like, yeah, they had turnovers, but the Patriots defense was the reason why some of those turnovers were happening. So yeah, I think you can say that, you know, it wasn't the Bills' best game, but the Patriots definitely went in there and competed, and I think took that game from Buffalo.
Yes, and doesn't Drake May deserve credit for protecting the ball? And Josh Allen didn't protect the ball, right? I mean, if Drake May makes one mistake, Justin, in this game, they do not win this game. They won this game. One of the reasons why is because Drake May stayed within himself. What has been our biggest criticism of him throughout his career to this point? He doesn't stay within himself. He stayed within himself, and he I think this is a compliment, not a criticism. He ran the system on Sunday night, and that's why they won this game.
Well, I mean, 100%. Drake May played a fantastic game. You know, it just goes to show you that you don't always have to go out there and throw for 3 touchdowns and 400 yards to say that a quarterback had a great game and won the game for his team. I mean, Drake May went out there. He took care of the ball. He made big plays when he needed to. He played virtually mistake-free football. I mean, he played very smart. And you know, some of those plays that he made, you know, some of the throws. I mean, I'm thinking specifically about, you know, who at this point hasn't seen the throw to Stephon Diggs, you know, as he's rolling out to his right, and the other throw when the guy was hanging off of him. You know, he's got a 350-pound monster hanging off of him. He finds a way to get to flip it for a first down instead of taking the sack. Like, Drake May did exactly what he needed to do the other night, and that was make big plays when it counted and not beat himself.
If we're going to talk about Drake May, I think we have to talk about a few things. The first thing is, there were like a half dozen throws in that game that were next level throws.
Yes.
This is the NFL. Every single one of these guys can throw. Every backup is a terrific passer. Okay. So all these guys can make some great passes. However, what you saw from Drake May is you saw him make about a half dozen passes on Sunday night that are passes that only 3 or 4 other quarterbacks in the league can make. Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes. Maybe there's a couple other that you could point to.
Yep.
They were literally next level throws. And that was, I think, the biggest difference in the game between loss and victory. May's ability to hit a few of those next level throws. So that's the first thing I think you have to say about May.
Well, absolutely. I mean, he showed a very unique combination of athleticism, arm strength, you know, just awareness. You know, he was under pressure all night. The Bills were bringing the heat, and I think the offensive line played fairly well, but that's a good front seven, and the Bills were coming with the pressure, and he was constantly on the move. I mean, he didn't really have much time to sit there and get comfortable and take his time in the pocket. He had to make things happen. He had to extend plays, and that's really what he did. And not only did he do that, but he capped it off with some really next level throws, as you mentioned, that most quarterbacks in the NFL just can't pull off, at least consistently.
There's probably about 3 or 4 that could have done what he did on Sunday night. And I think that's why we're all so excited, right? Because you see the potential of what this kid does when he's out there, the athleticism, the arm talent. There are only a handful of guys in this league that can do what he did on Sunday night. I'm sorry. There are 27 other quarterbacks in this league that some of them are really good quarterbacks. But if they were quarterbacking the New England Patriots on Sunday night, the Patriots don't win that game. That's just a fact.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, he seemed pretty unshaken at every turn. And, he took that game in stride. The moment was not too big for him. I believe that was his first primetime game in the NFL, right? And that's a moment that could have gotten too big for a lot of quarterbacks. First primetime game on the road against the former MVP and what's considered to be, maybe the best team in the league. And he looked unshakable.
Well, that's just it. And if we're going to let's get to the second thing about Drake May.
Yep.
And you just hit on it, the poise.
Yep.
He showed poise. He was in command. He was not flustered. He was not rattled. Okay. This was a mature quarterback that was in control, that looked confident and looked like he knew what he was doing. That was about as difficult a situation as you could have in an NFL regular season game. Like you said, on the road, great team, tough environment. And he was poised the whole night.
Yeah, he really was. He just looked like he had been there and done that 100 times at this point in his career, even though it was his first primetime game. And, the other thing too that I don't want to overlook is, I think even dating back to last year, like dating back to when he got drafted, there's been all these comparisons to Josh Allen, right? He's a young Josh Allen. He reminds us of Josh Allen. And like to go up against Josh Allen in that situation and just to be unflappable and arguably outplay Josh Allen in his home stadium. Like the dude,
I don't think there's any argument about it.
Yeah.
He did, he outplayed Josh Allen.
He did. And that's the guy that people have been comparing you to for the last maybe 18 months. Like that takes a lot of stones. And, I can't say enough how confident that made me, for the rest of the season and for the rest of his career. I don't think that was a fluke. I really don't.
Yeah. I don't think so either. And like, look, I think what you saw on Sunday night was you saw the first chapter in what is going to be one of the great NFL quarterback rivalries of the next 5+ years. Josh Allen versus Drake May. This is going to be, this is going to be one of those situations like where there's 2 great quarterbacks in the same division and they're playing twice a year. And these guys are both just super insanely talented, insanely athletic. I mean, this is the start, I think, of what's going to be like a flagship rivalry for the National Football League.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what? It's gonna be a lot of fun. I think I think it's going to be one of those situations too where iron sharpens iron, right? And I think having Josh Allen in the Bills in this division with Drake May and the Patriots, I actually think it's going to be good for him. And I think it's going to be a great opportunity. He's going to be battle tested. He's got at least 2 games every regular season that he can count on where, the pressure's going to be on. He's going to have to bring his best. And I think it's going to be really good for the young kid. And to come out swinging the way he did the other night, again, I can't say enough how impressed I was.
Now, I will say, Justin, and I really haven't heard anyone say this, that if I'm being honest, I do still think look, this when May kind of gave the game away sort of against Pittsburgh a few weeks ago, what did I say? I have to be consistent with that take, and that is this kid still has to cage the beast. And the one play that everybody is going like absolutely gaga about it. I don't know if you watch ESPN Get Up the morning after, but like everyone was going crazy about it, was the play on the final drive where he was getting dragged down and he threw the ball to Diggs.
Right.
To me, Justin, that play was eerily similar to the play he fumbled on against Pittsburgh, you know, rolling right, holding onto the ball too long, trying to do too much. It's just that in this particular case, he happened to get it off. He made the play and he was a hero. But like, look, like as he, you know, he is a home run hitter, I think, in every sense of the word. There are going to be times where he tries to make plays like that, and I'm sorry, it's going to blow up in his face. And you hope that as he develops and gets older, he'll get a better sense of when he can get away with it and when he can't. But that sort of like high risk, high reward part of his game is still very much there. And it just burned him in Pittsburgh, against Pittsburgh a few weeks ago, and he got away with it, I think, against Bills, and they might not win that game if he doesn't do that. So
yeah, well, you know, I think that's exactly it, right? Is, you know, when it works out and it's one of the reasons that you win a game, it's, you know, it's phenomenal. When it bites you in the butt and it's one of the reasons you lose a game, you know, you sit there kind of shaking your head. As long as it helps us more than it hurts us, I think you have to take the bad with the good, right? I think you have to understand that, hey, this is a kid, he's aggressive, he's talented. Like you said, he's going for the home run play sometimes. He's trying to do some things that other people can't. And as long as it works out more than it doesn't, you take the times where it kind of bites you in the butt, as long as it has a net positive effect over the course of his career.
Justin, I just watched Patrick Mahomes throw a 99-yard pick six last night.
Exactly.
And they lost the game.
Right.
They lost the game.
Right.
But Patrick Mahomes also makes a lot of plays that no one else can make. You know, Josh Allen threw a huge pick against the Patriots on Sunday night. A lot of times he makes the play and they win the game. I think it's the way of the NFL right now. And I think these high risk, high reward guys, I mean, look, they're sort of the model right now. So I think it's a good thing that that's what May is. But just so everyone knows, like, he's going to do that kind of thing again, and it's going to burn him. Like he's gonna turn the ball over. He's going to make bad plays, and he's going to hold the ball too long trying to do things. You know, I think that's just the nature of his game. I want to talk, Justin, a little bit about the coaching on Sunday night. And look, I'll say it, like, in one sense, I didn't think this was a great coached game, but in the other sense, I give a lot of credit to Mike Vrabel. Let me clarify. Look, they took a ton of penalties. The offensive game plan was horrible. I felt like, you know, they're still struggling with discipline. All that said, clearly the culture that Mike Vrabel is building is wearing off on this team, and it shows. The resiliency, the toughness, the durability that Vrabel has instilled in this foundation he's building is really a huge factor in why they won the game Sunday night. All that said, there's still a lot that needs to be improved.
There is. I mean, there's definitely you know areas of improvement in this team, but you know, this is now, I think you could say this the second time this season that we're sitting there going, there's no way this team would have won this game in years past, right? And I think that is a direct reflection. You know, you look back to Miami in week 2, you look back to this past Sunday night, and you got to say to yourself, the difference, you know, obviously, you know, there's a lot of differences, but the main difference is the fact that this team was tough and resilient. No, they didn't play mistake-free football. I mean, yes, there's tons of areas where they can improve, but they're tough and they're resilient. And you can tell they're playing out there with the purpose. They love playing for this coach. I mean, again, you know, you see it on their faces after the game when he greets every single player on their way back into the locker room. It's that connection that, you know, they're embodying Mike Vrabel. This team is Mike Vrabel in the field.
That is absolutely true. And I think if you're asking me, like, what are the two take homes from Sunday night? It's one, the excellence of Drake May, and two, the culture, the toughness, the resiliency that Mike Vrabel has imparted on this team.
Yes, 100%. No questions asked. And you know what? Give me a tough and resilient team, because you know what? You can fix mistakes, right? You can discipline fixing mistakes. Like, those are things that I'd rather work on than have a soft team that doesn't want to fight and that doesn't want to compete. You know what I mean? Give me a scrappy,
100%.
tough team that wants to fight and compete, and you can improve the other stuff, the little stuff.
And we said it back in the preseason, like, Vrabel's going to make this team tough. If nothing else,
yes,
this is going to be a tough, resilient team. Well, you saw it on Sunday night, 100%.
Yep.
I want to talk, since we're talking about this, let's change the subject a little and talk a little bit about the defense. I would say, and you tell me if I'm wrong, like, I don't remember a time when I remember their defense just hitting this hard. Like they were a hard hitting, fast, aggressive defense is what they look like on Sunday night. So I know that's Vrabel's influence again, but I was really impressed. That's a damn good Buffalo offense that scored a lot of points on pretty much everyone they played to that point. That was a great, I thought, defensive performance.
It really was a great defensive performance. I mean, look, you held the Bills to 20 points at home, right? I mean, that within itself right there is a victory. But you're right. Like that defense, they are tough. And, we said that we expected big things out of their front seven. I mean, that front seven, they might not be getting home for maybe as many sacks as you'd like. I mean, I would like to see them get into the quarterback a little bit more, but they are so tough up front. I mean, they didn't let Josh Allen really go anywhere. Like anytime Josh Allen tried to scramble, roll out, tuck it and run, they were right there to snuff it out. They kind of spied him very well. They shut down the running game. I mean, James Cook, who had arguably been the best running back in the league, he'd just been exploding for the last 4 weeks. They shut him down. In Barmore and in Milton Williams up front, I mean, they are really, causing some trouble for
they're offenses. Controlling the line of scrimmage.
They are. Yeah. I mean, I don't think you can find, I don't think there's a better duo in the interior line in football, if I'm being completely honest, than Williams and Barmore. So, they're extremely physical. And then, we talked, I remember you asked me after the Pittsburgh game, you said, would they have won that game if Christian Gonzalez was out there, right? And you look at last night, you look at Sunday night, and not only Christian Gonzalez play a great game, but he arguably had a game-saving pass breakup. In you know what I mean? In that fourth quarter, where he kind of came from behind and he chased the guy down, and it resulted in the Bills having to settle for a field goal, I believe. Those are the types of plays that you need guys to make. And it really goes to show what having a healthy Christian Gonzalez can do for that secondary on top of that beastly front seven that you have.
Yeah, it's absolutely no coincidence that they've played their two best defensive games the 2 weeks they've had Christian Gonzalez back. Right. They just look like a totally different defense. I mean, he takes away half of the field. Like he tilts the field. He's that kind of player. I want to talk a little bit, Justin, about Will Campbell. And on Sunday night, he had 40 pass blocking snaps. He gave up 0 sacks, 0 pressures, 0 QB hits, 2 hurries, and a 97.2% pass block efficiency. He earned an 87.2 grade pass blocking from Pro Football Focus, which is one of the better ones in the league. Will Campbell, Justin, has gotten off to a really solid start for his career. Patriots took him with the number 4 pick this April. Can we agree, or can we say at this point that they made the right pick? When you look at who is taken behind him, when you look at what Travis Hunter has done, I know a lot of people wanted him. Abdul Carter, people want him to fall. I don't think he's really done much. Can we now say that the Patriots kind of handled that right, it looks like, by just sticking and picking Will Campbell?
Yeah, I 100%. And it's a domino effect with a guy like Will Campbell because, you're talking about his individual stats and how good they are and how good he's played. But when you look at the development in the leap that Drake May has taken in his second year, you can't tell me that that's not a direct impact of having a guy like Will Campbell in his blind side at left tackle. Like that is 100% what a top 5 tackle can do for you. And I think it was the right pick, and you're seeing it. You're seeing it in his performance. You're seeing it in Drake May's performance.
Yeah, I mean, I would say what Campbell is like when you add in baseball, when you add a number 1 starter to a rotation, and it just has like a domino effect on the rest of the rotation, because the former number 1 is the number 2, and the number 2 is the number 3, and everything's just better, and it brings stability to the rotation. That's exactly what's happened with Will Campbell with this team, like the stability. And I still think there's room for growth. I still think he's not quite at a Pro Bowl level yet, but I think he's been very good. And I feel like as he continues to grow, he's going to bring more stability. I think his presence has really, I would say, completely altered the dynamic of this line.
In a big way. We talked about this for years. We talked about this offensive line being shaky, being one of the weak points of this team. Arguably being we made excuse after excuse for past quarterbacks, thinking back to like the whole Mac Jones experiment and whatnot, how part of the reason they were so bad was because they had to play behind a line like the Patriots had. I mean, to see what this completely rebuilt line has done. I mean, you mentioned it last week, but 4 new guys out of the 5 starting offensive linemen, 4 new guys, and they've had such an incredible impact. And again, when you talk about the fact that the entire left side of that line are rookies, with Jared Wilson and Campbell, it just gives you so much enthusiasm and I guess an encouragement that this will hopefully be a line that continues to get better moving forward and can be solid. And they've been solid. I mean, I'll tell you this, even in their 2 losses, like I haven't looked at this Patriots team and said the reason why they've lost or the reason why they've struggled has been their offensive line.
100% accurate. I mean, they're an average to above average line. There's still room for improvement. I still think they're going to need to sign or draft, another player free agent when that time comes next year. But we in New England, we know what bad offensive line play looks like.
Yes,
because we have seen plenty of it the last few years. I mean, last year that was bad offensive line play, right? The year before that was bad. This is respectable. And oh, by the way, how great is it that freaking Valdarian Lowe comes in for one play and gets a false start penalty.
I know.
That guy, get rid of. There's got to be someone better than him out there.
After that false start, I said to myself, "Oh my God, that's going to be the play that changes the tide in." It's going to be the reason they lose. Like I texted you after that play. I texted you. I said, "Oh my God, they're going to blow it." It really just felt like that, which again speaks to how tough and resilient this team was and how well Drake May did. After Valdarian Lowe kills that drive, and then the back-to-back, what was it? It was like a roughing the passer and
personal fouls.
And 2 personal fouls,
30
free yards. Between those 3 penalties, and the game started to slip away, and all the momentum tilted back to Buffalo. For this team to come up, make a stand, they bent and didn't break after those 2 penalties, and then to come back down and win the game. I mean, it's stuff that we haven't seen in New England in a long time.
1,000%. While we're talking about line play, let's transition to the running backs, Justin. And look, we've talked a lot about Ramondre Stevenson. Fumbles again on Sunday night. One of the dark spots from the game, because the Patriots have right now a real issue at the running back position, and we shouldn't glance over that. Ironic, because we all thought that was a position of strength coming into the year.
Yeah.
Well, now Antonio Gibson's out for the year, so he's gone. I'm sorry, Travion Henderson has been disappointing. Like, he looks slow, he looks small, his blocking has been bad, and that was supposed to be what he was good at. I feel like every time he gets the ball, he's getting tackled like immediately by like 5 guys, and then Stevenson can't hold on to the ball. So I don't know what they're going to do. They only ran for 59 yards on Sunday night, and that's not good enough, generally speaking, especially against good competition. I'm worried about, there's one thing I would emerge from Sunday night saying I'm a little worried about. It is this running game.
I'm definitely worried, but here's my thoughts on Travion Henderson, okay? Travion Henderson, I agree, he's been a little underwhelming, but has he really gotten a chance to build momentum? I mean, I know he kind of got a series of downs against Pittsburgh after those fumbles. But I mean, I'd like to see the guy actually get a workload and give him an opportunity to kind of build some momentum and maybe build some steam and get some confidence and have a couple of good drives back to back. I think that's what he needs. I think, they're plugging him in here and there. And I just don't think it's enough to get the engine going. I'd like to see a little bit more of him. As far as Ramondre goes, I'm sorry. I keep hearing, we need Ramondre. We don't need Ramondre. We need somebody who can do what Ramondre does without the negatives that come with Ramondre,
or
right? Even
better, we need like Ben Jarvis, Green Ellis,
yes.
Right? Like someone that could come in and just take what's there and not fumble the ball.
Exactly. And you know what? I'm looking right now, I was looking before the podcast. some of these free agents that are out there. Gus Edwards, the longtime Raven, Zach Moss, the longtime Bengal, two guys who I think could come in and easily do the job of Ramondre Stevenson. You got some really good running backs that I think are ready to be traded. We've talked about Alvin Kamara. I think Breece Hall's about, on his way out of New York. It's like you got the capital and the money if you want to go trade for one of those guys. You got guys that are sitting in free agency that you could bring in that I think could do the same thing Ramondre could. Like, why are we subjecting ourselves to the downside of Ramondre Stevenson? I'm sorry. I like the loyalty out of Rabel, but at the same time, I'm done with it. I'm done with it. After the Pittsburgh game, I said to myself, if they don't cut him, they better if he does it again. And he did it again, and it could have been a really bad thing for this team. Luckily, we fought back from it, but I'm sorry. You can't risk that. You just can't.
Yeah, I just don't know what they do because, you can say, a lot of people do say we need Ramondre, we need Ramondre, and you're right. Like, he's not worth it. He's not worth the trouble. He's not that good of a back that no one is to justify the amount of fumbling that he's done. But I actually think at this point, it is almost a literal statement. There's only two running backs on this roster. So they actually do just need Ramondre in the sense that they need any warm body to take some carries, so I honestly don't know what they do. I think they should, I do hope that they sign somebody this week or make a trade or something, because I feel like they're in trouble there. All right, let's talk about three more quick hits. Then we're going to wrap it up. Let's try to keep it at 2 minutes for each one. Number one, did you see the Stephon Diggs speech after the game or before the game? The Stephon Diggs locker room speech before the game was just like unbelievable. Yeah. I never thought we'd see Stephon Diggs in the role of veteran leader of this team, but that's the role he's in right now. So not only is he playing better on the field, and let's not forget, none of us thought we were going to see him until October. And you know what I mean? And he's played in all 5 games. So that's amazing. But the leadership that he's bringing, that's a total surprise from what I thought we were getting.
I didn't realize until very recently that that's who Steph Diggs has become, because all his years in the league, he was known as a troublemaker, arguably a locker room cancer, somebody, a big mouth, somebody who would, who was pretty selfish and immature. Going back to free agency, before signing him and even after signing him, you asked me multiple times this podcast, well, do I want Stephon Diggs? What do I think of Stephon Diggs? And the reason I said no multiple times, and the reason was because I said, well, I think he could potentially be a cancer and a hindrance on Drake May's development if the old Stephon Diggs comes in and puts on a Patriots uniform. But this is a new Stephon Diggs that I am so pleasantly surprised by. Like, I had no clue this is who he's become later in his career. He's clearly matured. He's clearly adopted that veteran mentality, that leadership mentality. I think I'd be lying if I said I don't think he's getting part of that from Vrabel. I think he's feeding off of the Vrabel energy. But this is just a Stephon Diggs that I frankly didn't even know existed up until a few weeks ago.
Justin, look, as we all get older, sometimes we get a little wiser too. Sometimes we learn to appreciate our circumstances a little more. Randy Moss, people remember him as a great Patriot. People would have said he was a cancer if for some of his time in Minnesota or in Oakland for the Raiders. So, maybe Stephon Diggs has matured a little. I don't know, but it's really been great to see. And I think this team needs that, frankly. Your quarterback's really young. You got a ton of young guys, like you said, rookies on the offensive line, young players up and down the roster. The fact that Diggs is filling that role of like statesman, the old statesman, the established veteran, that's a good thing. Okay, next one. What did you think about them trusting on Andy Borregales at the end of the game? Look, I know it all worked out. I did not love the way Vrabel handled that situation. If they had lost that game, missed that kick, first of all, they missed that kick. Josh Allen has 25 seconds left and a really short field. Yep. They're probably losing the game. I thought they should have gone for another first down. It worked out, but I was really surprised the way they trust Andy Borregales.
I mean, I texted you even right after you made that kick, and I said I did not think he was going to make that. Right? Like I just didn't.
Totally.
I didn't.
It would have been good
that.
from like 60. He freaking nailed that.
Dude,
he walloped that thing.
Smoked it right down the middle. I mean, but you know what? I kind of love it too. I kind of love it because we've talked about the worries with this kid. You know, how special teams and how this guy specifically, you know, could potentially be a detriment to this team. And that's the type of kick that I don't want to overreact to this, but a young rookie kicker, you know, who's kind of been finding his footing the first 4 weeks of the season, that's the type of kick in that moment that can change the trajectory of his entire career. And I don't want to sound dramatic when I say that, but I really think it could. Like the confidence it gives him, you know, I really think that was huge for not only obviously for this team, it was huge, but I think it was really huge for Borregales. And again, it showed me a lot because I just didn't think he had that in him. I was totally expecting him to bum it, and he stepped up and he just friggin', like you said, it would have been good from 60. You like with the laser, it was right down the middle. It was totally. It really did show me that, you know what? Maybe they didn't make a mistake bringing this kid in, and maybe Vrabel isn't crazy for trusting him.
Yeah, and look, you're probably, I know you're not old enough to remember Adam Vinatieri had a really bad start to his career. Like the first 4 or 5 games, people were calling him Scary Vinatieri on sports radio. You know, Gostkowski missed a big game-winning kick in his first 4 games. I believe it was against the Arizona Cardinals. My point being is that, you know, I mean, the guy got a bad start, but maybe Vrabel saw something in him, you know, and it's going to work out. That was a huge kick. Okay, last one on the Pats, then we're going to move to around the league. We have talked so much about failed draft picks on this podcast for the last few years in the Patriots draft struggles. I just want to give a little shout out to Marcus Jones. Can we add him to just the list of draft hits? This team has not had many draft hits in the last 5 years. Marcus Jones is a really good, solid slot cornerback and a terrific punt returner. I mean, that's probably about as good a draft pick as they had in those final Belichick years.
Yeah, he's been so solid. And, you know, I think and he's versatile. You know, he's versatile. I think back to even, what was it, 2 years ago when he caught a pass out of the slot and took it to the house, right? Like he's versatile. Like he's shown that, you know, you can use him almost wherever you need him. We've seen him on offense. We've seen him on special teams. We've seen him obviously on defense. And he's definitely, you know, he's definitely one of the few hits in recent memory. A huge interception. I think he really just gets like the whole Patriot way. Like he's tough. He works hard. You know, you don't really hear much from him. To me, he's like a classic Patriot that's like earned his keep on this team.
Yeah, and I wouldn't mind seeing him on offense at some point here and there, you know, bring a little playmaking to the table. Okay, any more thoughts on the Pats before we move to around the league?
The last thing I'll say about the Pats, and I think this segue, you know, if we're talking about draft hits, just one thing I want to say as we transition to around the league is how about Tyquan Thornton, our former second round pick.
Wow.
Turning into, you know, a reliable deep target threat for Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs. I know they lost the other night, but he had another big catch, deep target. I mean, he's been doing it consistently. He's got a handful of touchdowns since being acquired, and he's looking like a legit NFL receiver. We never even saw a semblance of that in New England. It just goes back to what a mess we were at the time that, you know, we drafted him and had him.
Yeah, and actually, Justin, that's the perfect segue for Around the League, because we're going to start Around the League with a new segment here on the Dr. Football Podcast. And the name of that segment is going to be the Bill Belichick Minute. Is Bill Belichick just a zany old man trying to get some final kicks at the end of his life? Or has he truly descended into madness? We break it down for you this week on the Bill Belichick Minute, Justin. So let's talk about that, right? Belichick got absolutely shellacked by Clemson this week. It is looking so ugly, both on and off the field for Belichick at UNC. I really hate to see it because I just have so much respect for Bill. But Justin, I don't think Belichick's going to make it to next year, and maybe not to the end of this year at the rate he's going.
No, and it's sad. It really is. I mean, you hate to see a guy who did so much for us for such a long time descend to what he's become right now. Like, it really is just, I go the Nick Saban route. Take a cushy media job. Like, what do you do? Like, what are you doing at this point? Like,
what are you doing?
There's nothing good that's going to come from this. Nothing good has come from it. I really just think he's totally tarnishing his legacy. And you know what? Recency bias is a thing. It's a thing in life. It's a thing in work. It's a thing. It's a thing in everything. Like, what have you done for me lately? And lately, there's very few positives to speak of when it comes to Bill Belichick. And I think it's a shame.
Yep. And I'll say this, and you might disagree with it, but like the Bill Belichick that we're seeing right now, I hate to say it, but this is the Bill Belichick that was here the last few years.
It was.
This is why things weren't working in New England for like 4 or 5 years at the end. The only difference now is the curtain is revealed. He has become way more open, and we're getting a much closer look at some of the traits, the pettiness, the spite, the small-mindedness, off the field, and then the on the field stuff. It's like this is why it was such a nightmare here in Foxborough for 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I think we wanted to think for a while, towards the end of his tenure in New England, that, they just didn't have maybe the horses, and, you could blame it on Mac Jones or Cam Newton or whatever. But really what we're seeing, and it's just been reinforced, now that he's in North Carolina, is just Bill. He just seemingly lost his way, and I don't know what happened, but he literally is like falling off the wagon. I don't know if it's a mental thing. I don't know if I don't know.
I mean, if I was his family, I think he needs to go see a neurologist. And I'm not saying that glibly. I'm saying that as a doctor. Like, I wonder if there is a neuropsychiatric basis. And when you see people in their 70s, like, start to just completely, go off the rails and start making really strange, impulsive decisions like he has done now for a while, you do have to worry about medical problems.
Yeah, 100%. And the one thing that I will say, I think we all knew this, but I think it's very apparent now, is he's extremely spiteful and bitter about how everything ended in New England, in I think the blame that he's getting. You don't have to look any farther than him directing, his media team and everybody at UNC saying, hey, we're not showing any highlights of Drake May, a UNC guy. We're not showing any highlights of the Patriots, like nothing like that. Like, he is, his recent comments about Jonathan and Robert, like, the guy is just so bitter and spiteful at this point. And I don't know, he's obviously.
Yeah, and the irony of all that is that in that spite, he is actually completely validating everything the Crafts did to get rid of him. And even if, like, hey, if Arthur Blank was going to hire him and he went to Robert Kraft and said, what do you think? And Robert Kraft said, hey, I got to be honest here. Guess what, Belichick? You're validating that completely with the spite you're showing. I think it is just like, it leaves such a bad taste in my mouth. The fact that he has such a grudge on the Crafts and the Patriots. Like, sometimes, Bill, it's just better. It's better to take the high road. And I think in this case, 100% should be taking the high road. You had a great run in New England.
Yeah.
You have nothing to prove. You should not. It just stopped working. It's just one of those things after 2 decades. I don't think anyone is going to long-term think less of Belichick because his time in New England ended after 19 years. So I don't know why he feels like he needs to go out there and validate, prove himself, or point the finger at the Crafts. It's just such a bad look for him. And did you hear the documentary's off now? The Hulu documentary on UNC, they're not going to do it anymore.
Yeah, well, I mean, good. Honestly, I'm glad.
Honestly, I hope they burn the tapes. I don't want to see what's going on. It's ugly, man.
Seriously.
All right, let's get to some other stuff around the league. Victory laps and taking our medicine. Justin, I'll let you go first. You want to take a victory lap? You want to take some medicine? What do you got?
All right, let's start with the medicine. I got to take my medicine right now, and this one really hurts. I hate to say it, but I'm looking at the Jaguars 4-1 right now.
Yeah.
4-1. Trevor Lawrence playing okay.
Uh,
Good enough to be 4-1. Good enough to be, you know what I mean? Like
you watched the game last night?
I did. Here's what I'll say about the game last night. Fumble was his fault. The interception, I think, was a complete blown call. His receiver got absolutely trounced on the route, and that was a no call on the interception. Although I did bet him to throw an interception, so I wasn't exactly sad that there was the no call. But he threw for one, he ran for two, and he ultimately led a game-winning drive to beat the Kansas City Chiefs. I mean, it was good enough, but
it was definitely one of his finer moments in the league. But all that said, I thought I'm expecting, I think people, if they're listening, they would expect me to take medicine on Trevor Lawrence. I'm holding firm. I'm not taking medicine on him. I think they're winning in spite of him, not because of him.
Well, look, I'm still not ready to say he's a good quarterback, and I don't think I've been wrong about him in the past. I'm just saying, I said that the Jaguars were going to continue to be a dumpster fire this year. Yep. And I said that they'd only win a couple of games, this and that. And look,
I'll take medicine. Yeah. I'll take medicine on that. I'll take medicine on Liam Cohen. I like the guy. He's winning me over. Yeah. But it's because like I said last week, he's the one that's smart enough not to try and make Lawrence into something that he's not. I'll tell you this: the whole Trevor Lawrence experience can be summarized in one thing that happened last night. Okay, first and goal from the 1. You're going to get 2 or 3 plays to win the game. He falls down trying to hand off. Okay, Chris Jones quits on the play. You're wondering how he's able to get up. He gets up. He falls down a second time. No one's in the backfield. How is no one from Kansas City getting him down? He runs in for the game-winning touchdown. Fine. Post-game comments. Do you know what he said? Did you hear what Trevor Lawrence said post-game?
I did, but remind me, what are you getting at?
He said, I was so panicked. Panicked. Yeah. Well, guess what? I don't know what I find more concerning, the fact that he was panicked or the fact that he is so damn entitled that he thinks he can come on after the game and tell the world I was panicked and it's just cool because I'm Trevor Lawrence. Yeah. That's the mentality that he has, why I think he sucks. Because, I'm Trevor, so it's okay if I was in a total state of panic, fell on my ass 2 times and got ass backwards lucky into scoring the touchdown. I think that says a lot about why I just never think it's going to happen for him.
Yeah, I mean, I will say that play, watching it live, I couldn't understand how he was able to fall twice and still get up in script. Like, I was waiting for somebody to get to him. Like,
did you watch the video of Chris Jones on that play?
Yeah, I did.
That's insane. Yeah, standing there.
He quit. He quit on that play. But yeah. So look, again, I'm not taking my medicine on Trevor Lawrence's career, but I'll take a little bit of medicine and say that him and the Jaguars team are off to a much better start than I had said they would be in 2025.
That's very fair. I took that same medicine last time. So I'm going to take just a small dose of medicine this week on a bet I made last week. The San Diego Chargers -2.5 jumped out at me. I thought the Chargers would recover after a couple of shaky performances. I'm going to tell you something. I'm taking medicine, but I'm taking a smaller dose because at halftime the game was tied. I got out of that bet, man. Talk about hedge better and using the live market to your advantage, Justin, right? Mm-hmm. I got out because I could see which way that game was going and I wanted nothing to do with it. The Commanders ended up winning in a blowout, but I was bullish on the Chargers this week and they really disappointed me.
I was too. Look, I think this Chargers team is in a little bit of trouble now. After starting off 3-0, they've lost 2 straight games. Yep. They've lost both their running backs. I think they're in a little
tackles.
Both their tackles. Yeah, they're in a little bit of trouble. I'd be a little panicked if I was a Chargers fan.
Yeah, 1,000%. And it's like, look, I mean, the way Herbert was playing in those first 3 games when he had Joe Alt out there and then Alt is gone and Herbert's totally fallen apart. And it just goes to show you it is a team game and you do need some support and how much quarterback play is dependent on the team around you. But with all the injuries they have, I mean, I do agree. I think that Chargers team is in a little bit of trouble after a fast start.
Yeah. Yep. Totally agree.
And I'll go ahead, take your victory laps. What do you got?
My victory lap is, look, I said in last week's podcast I guess it's only kind of a victory lap, but I did say, I said, I could totally see the Patriots going out and playing the Bills tough, but having something stupid like a Ramondre Stevenson fumble be, the reason that they lose the game. Now, obviously they didn't lose the game, but, and I said it after the Pittsburgh game, I said, can't you just see this happening again in a big game? Like, do you trust this guy to go out there in a big game? Like, it's going to happen again. And that's exactly what happened in a big game, in a big moment. Ramondre Stevenson went out there and fumbled. This is not something that's going to be fixed, I think, anytime soon. I said it was going to happen again. I said I feel like it was going to happen Sunday night. It did. Luckily, it didn't cost us the game. But I just don't think you can push forward and say that this problem that has been a problem now dating back multiple seasons is all of a sudden gonna get corrected overnight just because he comes back and walks in the end zone twice, behind his offensive line.
He'll fumble again this year.
He will 100%
100%
fumble again. And let me tell you something. He not only will fumble again, I said it before, I will say it again. If this Patriots team finds themselves in the playoffs, I am smashing a Ramondre Stevenson fumble in that playoff game because he is just, it just seems like in big games and big moments, that is his MO, a costly turnover.
Yeah, and it's in the defense is just, it's like he's got a bullseye on his back now. And I think it becomes like a self-fulfilling thing. So that's part of the problem. All right, my victory lap is going to be about, look, I can't resist. Mac Jones. I'm not saying that Mac is a good quarterback. I'm not even saying he's a starting quarterback. What I said 4 weeks ago on this podcast was that Mac Jones would at least make a quarterback controversy in San Francisco. And that's what he's done. He's made a quarterback controversy. All the national shows are talking about, should Mac Jones stay in the starter role? It looks like Brock Purdy is going to be out, Justin, for even a couple more weeks. So Mac played really good against a really good Rams team on the road on a national stage. That was literally the best we've ever seen Mac Jones look. He showed resiliency, physical and mental toughness. Where did that come from? Where was that in New England? This kid got the rawest of raw deals. He was undercut by petty, spiteful Bill Belichick at every turn. He doesn't have Drake May's arm talent. I don't think he could ever win a game like Sunday night, for example, because he just doesn't throw the ball as well as May does. But I think May could be a good Mac Jones could be a good quarterback in this league in the right circumstances. And he is going to make a little bit of a controversy in San Francisco.
Yeah, I mean, Brock Purdy was questionable. Some people say he could have potentially played this past week. And now I think you're in a situation where not only do you not rush him back, but even when he's fully ready to go, I think you got a real decision to make if you're Kyle Shanahan in the 49ers. I mean, look, I think right now where he's at is arguably the best spot in the NFL for him. I mean, let's not forget too, in between San Francisco and New England, he found himself in Jacksonville, and it was equally as bad in Jacksonville as it was in New England, right? So,
true that, but you could say the same thing about Baker Mayfield and Sam Darnold. They both had pit stops on the way to their
100%. So I guess my thing with Mac Jones is it wasn't a New England specific situation, but I do think you're right that, in the right environment with the right coaching and right team, a guy like him does have a place in the NFL, and we're seeing it.
And shocker, maybe this 23, 24-year-old kid, maybe he matured a little bit emotionally.
Yeah.
And maybe a little bit of adversity is one of the reasons why he's playing good. We said a lot when he was here, he's never faced adversity. Well, you can't say that anymore. He's faced some adversity, and maybe it's made him a stronger, tougher, more resilient person. And that might be showing a little on the field. So good for him. But it'll be interesting to see how the 49ers handle the quarterback situation. Okay, Justin, let's do some quick hits around the league, and then we'll wrap it up. Number one, I want to talk about, will the Denver Broncos win the AFC West?
I think they will. We talked about this at the beginning of the year. I got a nice little parlay. It's the Broncos to win the West, the Patriots to win the East, and the Colts to win the South. And I got to tell you, it's not about. I'm not regretting that right now. That's
Who do you have in the North?
I didn't put the North in it.
You're so lucky.
I didn't put the North in it. Yeah, I specifically.
So I did the same parlay, but I took the Ravens in the North. And I didn't take the Patriots. I took the Bills. So a little different. But I feel like, I don't know. I mean, but I feel like the Denver part of that is looking good. Like I think Denver wins the AFC West.
It's looking great. Look, especially, I thought Kansas City was going to right the ship. That obviously is not the case. They got their struggles. They're 2-3 now. The Chargers losing 2 straight games. The Broncos, I think, are the best team in that division. They got one of the best coaches in the league. They got one of the best defenses in football. A top 5 offensive line. Like they're really a complete team. They are. They got weapons. So I think that team will go as far as Bo Nix takes them. And you
got to give Bo Nix a lot of credit.
Yeah.
I don't think he gets enough credit. I mean, what he did on Sunday in Philadelphia, that's just as big a win as what Drake May did. I mean, on the road, you're down 14 points in Philadelphia against the best team in the NFL, and you come out with a victory. You got to give Bo Nix a lot of credit for that.
100%. Scored 18 unanswered in Philly. Yeah, I love this Denver team. I think they win the AFC West, and I still think they're one of the dark horses to win the AFC in general.
Okay, next one. True or false? The Tampa Bay Buccaneers are Super Bowl contenders, and Baker Mayfield is the MVP of the NFL through 5 weeks.
I'm going to say true. I mean, this team, this Tampa Bay team through 5 weeks, we haven't even seen a fully healthy Tampa Bay team. Let's throw that out there. This is a team that is battling with injuries on both sides of the ball, and they've found ways to win close games. They're scrappy as hell. You talk about a team that's tough and resilient. I mean, it's the Tampa Bay Bucs. They're clearly able to compete with anybody. And yeah, if it's not Baker right now, I don't know. I mean, I've heard people say Dak. I've heard a couple of names thrown out there, but I think Baker right now is got to be at the top of that list.
Yeah, 100%. And let's not forget, he has the advantage of being the new sexy thing, right?
Yep.
No one wants a 4-time MVP. We want the new story.
Yep.
So Mayfield gives us that. He's been terrific. I just can't get over. I've talked about it before, but it's just like, how does a Browns fan feel? How does a Panthers fan feel today? You traded your whole franchise for crappy Bryce Young, and Baker Mayfield and Sam Darnold were on the roster at the same time, and you let them both walk away for nothing. But this guy Mayfield, he's really playing terrific, and I think you can see this coming a mile away. But this kid, Emeka Egbuka, he's a stud, and he's definitely a draft hit. If there's one guy that I would say makes me think second about the Will Campbell pick, it's him. But going into that situation in Tampa Bay where there's so much talent, good quarterback, good coaching, a highly productive offense, and he's coming in as like the third wide receiver, even though they've been injured, and maybe he's been more than that. But you know what I mean? Like, he came into a good situation, and it's really not surprising to me at all, but this guy he's been a stud too.
An absolute stud. I got him on my fantasy team. I targeted him this year.
Great pick.
Oh yeah. I had him in my sights, and he's paid off in spades. I mean, he's top 10 fantasy receiver. I think he's a top 10 fantasy and top 10 receiver in real life too. Just an absolute stud, continuing that Ohio State wide receiver U tradition. But I mean, the kid has been absolutely phenomenal.
Next one. The Arizona Cardinals loss on Sunday to the Tennessee Titans was the worst loss you've ever seen in the NFL. True or false?
I'd have to take some time to think back, but it's the worst loss that I can think of off the top of my head. For sure. Well, there's one that I could think of, and that was right? 28-3. That's it. Right.
But I would say this, like, the 28-3 loss is probably worse because it was the stage it was on. But in terms of just like pissing a game away, the Arizona one is worse.
I think so. Can I tell you what's really annoying me about the aftermath of that? Why is Gannon apologizing for blowing up on DeMarcado? Like, I don't know, maybe they were saying maybe he got physical or he got handsy. I don't know what it was, but like, this is football. Okay. And I can think of a lot of coaches who would have grabbed you by the collar back in the day if you done something as stupid as that and cost yourself a game versus the worst team in football. I mean, that was an absolute total implosion. it pisses me off that he's apologizing for the way he handled that. I think you should, I don't know, that to me, I think is soft. And I think that's probably the reason why the Cardinals are soft in blowing games like that. That was just disgusting. I mean, they handed that game to Tennessee.
Well, it comes down to, did he hit him? If he hit him, then he owes him a huge apology. If he put his hands on him, then he owes him a huge apology. If he just lost his temper, then I don't think he really probably didn't need to apologize for that, because it was as bad a mental mistake as I've seen in professional sports ever in my entire life. And it's happened, by the way, at least one other time this year. Like, what's up with these guys dropping the ball before the goal line? It's just like the most egregious thing. It's the have you seen that show on Hulu, Chad Powers?
Yeah. I know what you're talking about.
I haven't watched it yet, but I watched the first few minutes of it. I want to watch the first 2 episodes. That's what he does. That's one of the reasons he becomes such like a pariah, is because he does that in the show. So I thought it was hysterical that the Cardinals running back did that. And then the other play, the interception, again, those are 2 as bad a goof up, both like improbable plays possible as you'll ever see in this league.
Yeah. And not to mention that they've lost a couple of the games this year that they've kind of given away last second field goals. Like this Cardinals team, I feel like that's the MO with this Cardinals team the last couple of years, is they kind of start off okay the first couple of games of the year, and then they just have some really bad losses, and it's all just a steady decline for the rest of the season. Like that's been what they've done for the last few years, and it's no different this year. I expect nothing out of them.
Kyler Murray's a fun player. He puts up fantasy numbers. At times he does some good things out there, but I don't really feel like he's really in it to win it, to be honest with you.
No, he's a gamer. He's a video game player that just happens to be a freak athlete. Like that's what he is.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. All right. Next one. So you predicted famously Mike McDaniels will be the first coach fired. I don't know if that's true or not, but there are a lot of rumors today swirling that the Miami Dolphins are interested in Rex Ryan to maybe be their next head coach. Justin, is Rex Ryan a good fit for the Miami Dolphins?
Well, I'll tell you this. I think he definitely brings some toughness to that Dolphins team. You know, I think that Dolphins team needs a leader that they can respect, that can instill some toughness. And I think that could be Rex Ryan. But I'll answer that question by saying, I don't know if it's Rex Ryan that they need, but it's definitely not Mike McDaniel that they need. That I think is apparent.
Well, it's like the pendulum always has to swing back and forth. After 3.5 years of dealing with that flake Mike McDaniel, you want the complete opposite. Could there be any more opposite for Mike McDaniel than Rex Ryan? After dealing with that flake pansy Mike McDaniels, okay, you want a hard ass Rex Ryan. I'm not sure either one, by the way, is a good fit. Like there's got to be some happy medium, right? What you're looking for there. But I can understand why, after dealing with this, like with Mike McDaniels for a few years, if people in that organization are like, yes, bring us Rex Ryan. We need a hard ass old guy.
Yeah. Someone just to come in and shock the system and just reset the standards. You know what I mean? Like I feel like that whole organization has become so dysfunctional. I really feel like they don't have a true leader. I think you need someone to come in and just wipe the slate clean and set some standards, set a new tone.
I'm not sure that Miami team has been a tough team since like maybe Jimmy Johnson's first year in the late 90s, which is way before your time. But you know, they can probably use some toughness. All right, a couple quick more ones. Let's see. Eagles are not the best team in the NFC. What do you think?
That's tough. I think that's tough to say. You know, you look at the Eagles, you look at the not the Vikings. I'm sorry. You look at the Eagles, you look at the Lions, you look at the Bucks. I think it's probably one of those 3 teams. But you know, all 3 of those teams kind of have a bad losses. A bad loss on their record right now. So you know, I'm going to stick with the Eagles, but I think if you said it was Detroit or Tampa, I wouldn't argue with you.
I'm sticking with that Eagles team, Justin. Like I still feel like when it comes down to it, they're the best built team. They have the most talent. They have the offensive line. Now, I will say, and I said this in the preseason, that that team can win even if Saquon Barkley isn't great. And he really hasn't been great. So I think you have to be worried about if Saquon hit the wall that we've seen so many running backs hit. But it's early. But I think that Eagles team is still the best team in the NFC. Okay, one last one. Going to the other Super Bowl team. The Kansas City Chiefs will not make the playoffs this year, Justin. True or false?
I'm going to say false. I just, we've seen good teams struggle at the beginning of the year. I'm going to say that it's false for two reasons. A, because at the end of the day, you still got the nucleus of that team that turns you into a dynasty. You still got Andy Reid. You still got Patrick Mahomes. You got Chris Jones. You got Travis Kelce. You got guys like Trent McDuffie. You have good players on that on the roster on both sides of the ball. They've had health problems. I think they're going to get better as the season goes along. So that's one reason I think it's false. The other reason I think it's false is because the AFC has just shaken out to be so much more disappointing than I think we thought it would be. I mean, we thought the AFC was going to be a dogfight. I thought there was going to be a lot of really good teams in the AFC that would wind up missing the playoffs. A lot of those teams have fallen by the wayside. You look at what's happened in Baltimore. You look at what's happened in Cincinnati. You look at what's going on, the struggles at teams like Houston, Miami. Some of these problems that you're seeing. The Chargers are running into struggles. I think the Chiefs will find a way to make the playoffs.
Agreed. I think there's still a lot of football left. And the one thing about the Chiefs, Justin, that I think we should say is they've kind of fixed their offense. Their offense has looked a lot better this year than it has the last couple of years. They're moving the ball. They're still getting a few guys back from injury. I still think when it's all said and done, the Chiefs will be a wild card team in the AFC. Yeah.
And one important thing I think that's worth noting is not only was Xavier Worthy injured for a couple games, he's just kind of getting his feet back underneath him. Arguably their best offensive weapon has yet to take a snap for them, obviously outside of Patrick Mahomes, and that's Rashee Rice. I mean, say what you want about Rashee Rice, the person. He is an absolute game changer of a weapon when he's on the field for the Kansas City Chiefs.
Right.
When he comes back, I believe it's 6 games he's out, 5 games he's out, something like that. But when he comes back, this is going to be a whole new Kansas City team.
Yeah, I agree. That's a great point. And I think it's, something to talk about. And then one other thing is the AFC is wide freaking open.
Yes,
right?
exactly.
It's a wide open conference right now.
Yep.
All right, Justin, any final thoughts before we wrap this thing up?
No, just looking forward to New Orleans. We'll be at the game. I think one thing I just want to say about this New England team, and I think, again, hopefully you don't have to worry about this with a guy like Mike Vrabel in charge, but you really, sometimes teams after a win like they had the other night, they take their foot off the gas. They get a little complacent. They get a little cocky, and they can go and play down to their competition. You go in and playing one of the worst teams in the league. I hope the Patriots go and do to the Saints what they did to the Panthers, and I think they should. So just hoping that the Patriots keep the momentum and come back strong next week.
So next 5 games for the Patriots: New Orleans, Tennessee, Cleveland, Atlanta, and Tampa Bay. I think we all agree Tampa Bay is probably a game they will lose, or they certainly could lose. It's a game they're likely to lose. They got 4 games in between there that are games that you would think they should win. Will the Patriots sweep those 4 games, Justin?
Who do we got again? It's New Orleans. It's the Giants. It's Tennessee.
New Orleans, Tennessee, Cleveland, Atlanta. Cleveland, Atlanta are in Gillette. The first 2 are on the road.
Yeah, I think they will. Yeah. And look, let's not forget a couple other games. I know Buffalo will be a tough game again. I know Tampa will be a tough game, but that Baltimore game not looking as tough as we thought it might have been, right? Yeah. The rest of the divisional games, Miami and the Jets, shouldn't be as tough as we thought it would be.
Jets are dumpster fire.
Jets are dumpster fire. Yeah. So, I mean, this schedule has taken some favorable turns. They got through what I would argue is the toughest part of it, 3-2. So I'm happy with that.
Yep. I agree with that 100%. I mean, we thought there was going to be a tough stretch in November, but a lot has changed now. So it's really everything's wide open for this team. I think they can stack a few wins here. I will say, this is a big game this week because I feel like it's a letdown spot for the Patriots.
Exactly.
Coming off a big, sort of watershed win. So, one thing about Belichick for all the years he was here, this team took care of business.
Right.
They took care of business against teams like the Saints. They took care of business against teams like the Titans and the Browns and the Falcons, who, by the way, traded Joe Flacco today, the Browns. Did you hear that?
I did. Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, to the
Cincinnati.
Bengals,
Yeah,
which
exactly.
is interesting. But so they, if you're a good team and you're a playoff team and you have the better quarterback clearly in all 4 of those games, huge advantage at quarterback, I think you should be able to go out, take care of business, not play your best game, and still win these 4 games.
Yeah, exactly. I totally agree. And I expect them to. I'm excited for it. I look forward to it.
1,000%. All right. Well, we want to thank everyone that listened to this episode of the Dr. Football Ultimate Patriots podcast. Have a great week. Enjoy the games. Be healthy, be well, be safe. And we'll catch you next week with another episode.